What if I told you that losing just a single third grade teacher costs a school district like $20,000 in cold hard cash?
I mean, that's a staggering number right out of the
Yeah,
gate.
right. And it actually costs the students sitting in that classroom, a whole lot more.
Oh, absolutely.
So today we're taking a deep dive into the stack of documents from a program called MentalSpace School.
Yeah, and they provide K through 12 mental health support for schools across Georgia, right?
Exactly. And, while this might sound like a pretty straightforward brief about like a school wellness program.
Which, let's be honest, we've all seen a million of those.
Right, totally.
Right.
But it actually contains this radical reframing of how we view the entire education system.
It really does. It flips the script.
It really does. Specifically regarding the mental health of, not just the students, but the staff who are actually keeping these buildings running.
Yeah, the people on the ground.
Okay, let's unpack this because the core problem identified in the text starts with this really pervasive myth about teacher burnout.
Right, and to understand why a specialized program like MentalSpace School even needs to exist, we kind of have to look at this crisis they're trying to solve.
Yeah, starting with this really dangerous assumption that we've just sort of normalized as a society.
We really have this idea that, well, burnout is just part of being a teacher.
Exactly. And the documents argue that this is a total myth. Like, we often treat teacher burnout like the natural wear and tear on a car's tires,
Mm-hmm. Like it's just bound to happen.
Right. Like it's something inevitable. You drive the car, the tread wears down, whatever. But these sources argue it's more like an engine failure caused by putting the completely wrong fuel in the car.
Oh, I like that. What's fascinating here is how the text actually defines that engine failure, that burnout.
How so?
Well, they say it happens when good educators are asked to just, do everything for everyone, but with very little support.
Right. It's a systemic issue, not a personal one.
Exactly. It's not about them not being tough enough.
Yeah.
And the statistics they pull from the Georgia Department of Education are just, they're staggering.
Oh, yeah. Lay those out because they blew my mind.
So teacher turnover in some Georgia districts now actually exceeds 25% annually.
Wait, 25%?
Every single year.
So like 1 in 4 teachers is just gone.
Gone. Leaving the district or the profession entirely. And like you mentioned at the top, each one of those departures costs an estimated $20,000.
Which is just, it's wild to think about. Where does that 20 grand even go?
Well, it goes into recruitment, training, onboarding, and, replacing lost institutional knowledge.
Right, which is huge. But I want to push back just a little bit on this broad concept of like job stress.
Sure, yeah.
Because the sources get incredibly specific about what teachers actually face day to day. It's not just, grading is hard.
Oh, not at all. It's way more intense than that.
Yeah. They point out these exact micro stressors, like the second period crisis where a kid has a meltdown.
Right.
Or, the angry parent email that pings your phone at 9 p.m.
Which completely ruins your evening.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then there's the really heavy reality of a lockdown drill that just lands a little too close to home.
Yeah, that adrenaline spike is real. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really explains that concept of lost institutional knowledge from the text.
Right, because it's not just dollars walking out the door.
Exactly. The true cost isn't just that $20,000 recruitment fee. It's the specific human capital.
Like the actual relationships.
Yeah. The text gives these really poignant examples like what the students lose.
Right, like that third grade teacher.
Yes. The third grade teacher who, would have noticed an early reading issue before it became a huge problem.
Because they've seen it 100 times before.
Exactly. Or the high school counselor who would have caught the warning signs with a student who's struggling.
Wow, yeah. When you lose that baseline knowledge of a kid, you miss those subtle shifts.
You really do.
Yeah.
And they even mentioned the veteran principal who would have built trust with the community over years. You can't just replace that overnight.
You really can't. So what does this all mean when we look at the proposed solution?
Well, it means a generic corporate wellness response just isn't going to cut it.
Right, because the stressors are so hyper-specific to a school environment. So how is MentalSpace School functionally different from like a standard corporate hotline or an EAP, an employee assistance program?
It's completely different. A standard EAP is usually just an 800 number you call, and maybe you get an appointment 3 weeks from now.
Which is useless if you're in crisis today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But MentalSpace School builds its wellness programs directly around school calendars.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, and school-specific stressors. They are a K through 12 specialty practice. They aren't a generic EAP at all.
So how does that actually look logistically, like on the ground in the school?
Well, the text lists some pretty amazing realities. They have dedicated therapist teams for each school.
Wait, dedicated teams per school?
Yeah, and they offer same-day appointments.
That's huge.
And here's the best part. They use telehealth that specifically fits into a teacher's planning period.
Oh, wow. So they don't have to take a half day off just to talk to someone.
Exactly. Or they can fit it in between, like bus duty and lesson planning.
That is so practical. And they're not just offering like deep breathing exercises.
Oh, no, not at all. The program includes crisis intervention, suicide and violence prevention, and even family counseling.
Wow. So they're treating the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, and they emphasize that these therapists are licensed, diverse, and culturally competent.
Which is so important because you don't want to spend half your therapy session explaining your background to someone who just doesn't get it.
Exactly. It removes that friction.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Because a specialized clinical solution is, frankly, completely useless if the staff and students can't afford it.
Oh, 100%.
Or if they can't access it, or if the district can't legally implement it. Schools are incredibly complex bureaucracies.
They are, and the paperwork alone can kill a good program.
Right. But looking at the text, the way they clear these logistical and financial hurdles is pretty brilliant. Like, the list of accepted insurances is vast.
Yeah, it's really extensive.
It's clear the creators knew that financial friction is the absolute enemy of mental health care.
That's so true. And this raises an important question. How do districts actually measure the success of an intervention like this?
Yeah, how do they know it's working?
Well, the text points directly to the data. But before we hit the outcomes, let's look at that insurance piece you mentioned, because it's vital.
Okay, yeah, let's break that down. Who actually pays for this?
So care is covered through major providers like Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Cigna, Aetna, United Healthcare, Humana.
Okay, so all the big commercial ones.
Right. But also they cover state plans like Peach State, CareSource, and Amerigroup.
Oh, that's great for the families.
And crucially, care is covered through Medicaid, which means the cost for those families is exactly $0.
Wait, really? $0?
Zero. Which is life-changing for a family that might be, choosing between groceries and therapy.
Absolutely. Okay, so that solves the financial side. What about the legal and compliance side?
They've got that covered too. The program is fully HIPAA and FERPA compliant.
So patient privacy and student records are totally secure.
Exactly. And the documents specifically mention that they offer support for the HB 268 compliance deadline.
Oh, right. For you listening who might not track Georgia state legislature, that deadline is coming up in July 2026.
Yeah, so MentalSpace isn't just a perk. It's actually helping superintendents solve a massive legal headache.
That is incredibly strategic. Okay, so we've got access, we've got compliance. Let's talk about those outcomes you mentioned earlier. What are the actual results?
The results are striking, like really striking. The text reports an 89% improved attendance rate.
89%. I mean, that alone completely changes the functioning of a school.
It really does, because when kids and teachers are supported, they actually show up.
Yeah. What
They also saw a 92% reduced anxiety rate.
92%. That's almost hard to believe.
I know, but when you actually give people a pressure release valve in the middle of their day, it works.
Wow. Yeah.
And they also reported an 85% family satisfaction rate.
That is just incredible. So basically, to wrap this all up for you listening, the core thesis of this deep dive is pretty clear. Burnout is not just this inevitable thing.
No, it's really not.
It's a system failure. And it's a system failure that actually has a clinical solution.
Exactly.
By providing this like hyper-accessible, culturally competent, and really district-tailored support, programs like MentalSpace School are actively trying to keep our essential educators in the building.
And keeping our students thriving.
Right.
It leaves us with this really provocative thought based on the source text.
Oh, I like where this is going. What is it?
Well, we know the visible, hard dollar cost of a teacher leaving is $20,000, right?
Right, that's the number on the spreadsheet.
Exactly. But if we consider the 89% improved attendance and the 92% reduced anxiety that comes from having a genuinely supported school environment,
Yeah.
what is the hidden, unquantifiable cost to society of not providing this level of care?
Oh, wow. That's a huge question.
Right. If a single perceptive third-grade teacher or, a high school counselor can literally change the trajectory of a child's life,
Yeah.
shouldn't preserving the mental health of that educator be treated not just as some workplace perk, but as the most critical infrastructure in our education system?
I mean, when you put it like that, it's hard to argue otherwise.